your initial reaction of yesterday's game, starting the show off, Florida Cory.
Oh, thank you for that. Yeah, I just want to vomit. That's my initial reaction. Was just to vomit. Um, you know what? I mean, we're going to talk a little bit more about it as we go forward. I've been a huge defender of Jimmy Knowles since he got hired. Through all the big games we have blown and things like that, I have finally, you know what? Give him time, get the system ready, get some more guys in. They have a roster that could match an NFL team, and same story. The second they play somebody with a pulse, I no longer have faith in him. I'm not saying fire him. He has chances to redeem himself, but he needs to redeem himself, and the seat needs to start getting warm because this is unacceptable. Just plain and simple unacceptable. So that's my initial reaction is I'm just really mad at the defense more than anything.
JR, I'll go to you first. I almost went to. I'm gonna let Chris go last
I was
because I
wondering.
can just see it on his face. This is gonna be a rant for the ages. Go ahead,
I
JR.
was wondering where you're going. I was like, I feel like he should go to me, but I don't want to intrude. Yeah. So the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, and we have one group on this team that has decided to throw out the same people over and over and over again. In every big game, we say, why don't these people show out? Why don't these people do anything? And that's the defensive line. We have 2 5 stars on the defensive line. We have a defensive tackle who's supposed to be a first round pick, and they were almost unnoticeable. Last night, JT, I give him credit. He had some pressures and stuff like that, but still, it wasn't enough. You can get pressures, but you got to get sacks. I mean, you got to get home. You got to get there. So, to me, the pressure numbers from JT that I saw almost just make me even more mad because he never actually got home. Will Howard was fantastic. Will Howard was more than we were asking him to be. And to me, that's the biggest thing coming out of this game is we have now reset our expectations for the entire team. I no longer expect good play from the defensive line. I am just looking for the defensive line to be adequate. I that is my new bar for them, which is really saying something because there's a whole lot of talent on that defensive line, but Larry Johnson doesn't know what he's doing coaching them. And as much as you guys thought I was against Justin Fry after the Missouri game, I got about the same feelings for Larry Johnson right now because I know that behind closed doors right now, Larry Johnson is trying to tell Ryan Day how to run this team. And it's complete, it is completely going against the team. And when you have a group of guys who are coming back on a mission, trying to do this together, trying to win together, and you have somebody on staff who is deciding to make it more about him in his room rather than the team and winning it all, it's unacceptable. It's completely unacceptable. And it's the definition of insanity. I love Larry Johnson. I think Larry Johnson has done so many good things. He brought Chase Young, he brought Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa. I mean, there are so many great things, but we just have not seen the production from a Larry Johnson defensive line since Chase Young, and it's time to move on. Obviously, you can't move on in the middle of the season, but if week 1 next year we have Larry Johnson as our defensive line coach again, I'm not picking Ohio State to win any big games because the defensive line won't show up. It is what it
Preach,
is.
preach, brother.
Go ahead, Chris. The floor is yours.
Well, JR, first of all, I agree with you about Larry Johnson. Um, the game is past him at this point. It's time for him to go away. His lines have not done anything. Um, Jim Knowles just makes me want to run my head into a wall. He is absolutely awful when it comes to playing a team that, as Cory said, has a pulse. Um, I feared this when I saw them play Marshall, who is not a great offensive team. But I thought that the talent would win out. And the fact is, Jim Knowles, Larry Johnson are just not getting the talent out of these guys, the production out of these guys to associate with their talent. And Larry Johnson hasn't for a while. You look back, going back to Zach Harrison, a 5-star guy there who barely registered as a blip on the radar in college. He just is not getting production out of these guys anymore. The days of the Bosas and the Youngs, and even going back to his Penn State days, and the kid he had there that ended up going to the Browns as a first-round pick. Those days are over. He needs to go. Knowles needs to go. And that being said, you said that Larry Johnson was trying to tell Ryan Day how to run his team. I wish somebody would. For the love of God. The guy can't manage a clock in the last 2 minutes. He plays without guts. You know, it just absolutely drives me insane. Absolutely insane. And I was chatting with a former player online today who had mentioned, I'd asked him because he does do, he's an analyst now. And I said, what is Ryan Day's problem? Why is he 1-7 in big games? And his answer was, he's not vicious enough. He's not aggressive enough. He has to learn how to play to win instead of playing not to lose. How long are we going to wait for him to decide to play to win? How long? When he's 2-10-1? Is that what we're going to do? Because if every time he plays a team with a number beside their name, he goes back and looks more like Cooper 2.0 every time. 1-7 versus teams in the top 5. I cannot. I have no words at this point. If I go any further, we're going to lose our family friendly rating. So I'm just going to leave it there right now.
2 questions for you, Chris, in response to your rant. One comes from Jay Thompson. Good to have you with us tonight, Jay. A longtime listener and friend of the podcast and personal friend of mine. Is it that Knowles and Larry Johnson's philosophies don't mesh well?
Absolutely. That's been a problem since Knowles came in. There's been a power struggle in the defense since Knowles came in. And the thing is, that's where your head coach has to step in and take control, and clearly he hasn't.
Question
I
number
put that
2.
on Ryan Day.
The Larry Johnson is the last of the Urban Meyer staff. Am I correct on that? He is the last of the Urban Meyer staff. That is. Brian Hartline was technically there, I believe.
Yeah, he was an advisory
1 year.
cast.
He came in as Zach was going out.
Yeah. In what,
Yeah,
2018?
he was Urban's last year. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't really consider him because he just kind of was there for the last year. I consider him more of just kind of like a filler guy who did a really good job and kept the job after that. But as far as I'm concerned, Ryan Day needs to make this his team, and he needs to make this his coaching staff. And when you have Larry Johnson, who's not willing to mesh with Jim Knowles, like Jay pointed out, you can't have that. You have to have autonomy amongst the staff. We see what happens when you have autonomy amongst the offensive staff. Granted, I think there's one person on the offensive staff that's lacking. I think we all know who that is. But you still have autonomy and you have people working together for a common goal. You don't have that on the defensive
JR,
side.
can I just say, if Ryan Day keeps coaching like this in big games, he's not going to have to worry about making it his staff because all he's going to do is make it Mike Vrabel's staff.
And he has to own that. I mean, if he doesn't, you're right. If he doesn't win big games, he's not going to have a staff at Ohio State. He's not going to be at Ohio State.
Follow up, Chris. Then why doesn't Ryan Day just get rid of one of them?
Because he doesn't have the stones to do it. It's that simple. He's too much of a nice guy. He doesn't have that killer instinct in him. Do you think that Urban would have let this go on for 3 years now?
Yes, because he did with Billy Davis. I mean, he's done it before. Urban started hiring buddies at the end. I don't totally agree that Ryan Day didn't have the stones on staffing. He has overhauled the defensive staff now twice. He got rid of Kerry Combs. He demoted him mid-season. I mean, I don't know. I think Larry Johnson has such a huge booming name that it's harder with him, but
it's not. He's a coach just like anybody else.
He's also lean.
He's not New Rockney. He's not Nick Saban.
Well, at one point, people thought he was the best D-line coach in the country. I mean, so
At one point.
At one point, he was.
I
But
know,
he's not
I
anymore.
agree, but I think it's just like a little harder than getting rid of like Kerry Combs on maybe. But I think that's, as far as Stones go, I don't know. I've seen him overhaul staffs a few times. I've seen him just flat out fire people before. So it's like
Here's what I mean. I can't speak directly about everything that's going on, but here's what they want to do. They want Larry Johnson to retire and remain around the program so that way the kids that he recruited to be under him are
I could see
still have
that.
Larry Johnson around. And so Ryan Day right now is trying to balance that beam of, how long do we keep Larry around so that way he'll retire, but also what do we do to try and move on from him at the same time? And
And not lose the
I don't know if
kids he
that's
recruited.
yeah, I don't know if that's he doesn't have the stones to get rid of him. I just think that Ryan Day is in a really difficult predicament here, which I'm not making excuses for him. When you get to Ohio State,
it's of his own
you gotta make
creation.
difficult decisions. So I'm not making excuses for him, but I do think he's trying. That is what he's trying to do. Is he's trying to make it to Larry Johnson's retirement, but unfortunately, Larry Johnson is making it incredibly difficult when he won't work together with the rest of the defensive staff.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
$4.99, $5 holla from Larry Daniels. Thank you, Larry, for the super chat. Appreciate that. I can't blame coaches for mistakes made by players. A wake up call for everyone. 2 weeks to clean it up. Blame lies everywhere, which I agree with that, and we'll get to that in the polls here in the second part of the show. Number 4, we only fell to number 4 in the AP poll. Let's go Bucks. Thank you very much for the $5 super chat, Larry. Here's the only thing I'm going to say in this portion of the show tonight, because there'll be more opportunity for me to speak on everything you guys are talking about later. And I don't know how many of you caught this, when the NBC telecast stated that Ryan Day said, our hope is to keep this game close and steal it in the fourth quarter, I blew a gasket. That is a loser's mentality.
Mm-hmm.
That is weak sauce.
Mm-hmm.
And your team is going to play. Your team is a reflection of you as a head coach. And for someone who says we need to get
Leave no doubt.
Yeah, leave no doubt, and we need to play more tough and everything. It's none of those things. And so Ryan Day's own mentality snuck up and bit us in the butt again. And yeah, it's a great game, and you can pinpoint this play, you can pinpoint that penalty, you can pinpoint the onside kick, you can point to a lot of things and say if just this would have changed or just that would have changed. But at the end of the day, you lose 32-31, and you have to look yourself in the mirror. One of the biggest problems at Ohio State is no one's willing to take responsibility for things. And even those who verbally do it, they're doing it in a way that is condescending. Well, it's obviously
passive
my fault.
aggressive.
Yes, it's obviously we need to coach better. I'll take the blame. Well, start doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Stop talking about it and start doing it. Now, got that off my chest. Yes, Renata, that was on the NBC tele. He told somebody at NBC that was their plan. Keep it close, steal it in the fourth quarter.
That's horrible. I didn't even know that until you told me, Chris. That's horrible.